Mom, I know who hid the knife under your bed. The entire execution room went silent. Deborah froze in chains, her eyes wide with fear. The prison guards turned toward the little boy standing beside her. And then 8-year-old Kevin pointed directly at the man standing near the prison door. It was Uncle Isaac. Isaac's face suddenly turned pale. For 6 years, everyone believed Deborah murdered her husband. But seconds before her execution, a child was about to destroy the lie. If this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. Please subscribe, turn on notifications, and prepare yourself for one of the most emotional mystery stories you ever hear. Now, let's begin. Rain hammered heavily against the prison windows as Deborah sat quietly inside the cold execution room. Her wrists trembled beneath the metal chains wrapped around them. Her face looked weak and tired after 6 years behind bars. But her eyes still carried pain that refused to die. Outside the prison gates, reporters crowded around cameras. Everyone came to witness the final moments of the woman they called a murderer. 6 years earlier, Deborah's husband, Michael, had been found dead inside their kitchen. A knife covered in blood was discovered hidden beneath Deborah's bed. There was blood on her nightrobe. There were fingerprints on the knife. And from that moment, the entire town turned against her. No one listened when she cried and said she was innocent. No one believed her. Not even her own daughter, Vivian. Back then, Vivian was only 17 years old. The night her father died still haunted her every single day. The broken plates on the kitchen floor, the blood running across the tiles, the sound of police sirens outside the house, and her mother screaming while officers dragged her away in handcuffs. For years, Vivian convinced herself that Deborah was guilty. It was easier that way, because believing the truth would mean accepting something far more terrifying, that someone else inside the family could have done it. During those 6 years, Deborah sent letters from prison every month, but Vivian rarely opened them. Sometimes she burned them without reading. Sometimes she hid them beneath her mattress because the guilt hurt too much. Every letter carried the same painful message: I didn't kill your father. But time slowly hardened Vivian's heart. Eventually, she stopped visiting completely. The only person who still visited Deborah was little Kevin. Kevin had been only 2 years old when his father died. He barely remembered anything from that night. All he remembered was his mother's tears and the strange fear in Uncle Isaac's eyes whenever the murder was mentioned. Isaac became the family's savior after Michael's death. He paid the bills, handled the funeral, took ownership of Michael's house, and constantly reminded everyone how much he sacrificed for the family. People praised him. They called him generous, kind, responsible. But there was something about him that never felt right to Kevin. Especially the way Isaac always avoided talking about the night Michael died. Whenever Kevin asked questions, Isaac would become angry. Children should stop digging into things they don't understand. As Kevin grew older, strange memories slowly returned to him. Small pieces, tiny flashes, a loud argument downstairs, His father shouting someone's name. His shadow moving through the hallway late at night. And one memory Kevin could never forget. The night before Deborah was arrested, he saw Uncle Isaac coming out of his mother's bedroom. At first, Kevin thought it meant nothing. He was only a child. But years later, the memory returned stronger. And suddenly, everything felt wrong. 3 days before the execution, Kevin found something hidden inside an old wooden box beneath the staircase. A tiny silver key. Attached to it was a folded note written in his father's handwriting. Kevin's hands shook as he opened it. If anything happens to me, trust your mother. The boy stopped breathing. Beneath the sentence was another message. If Deborah is ever in danger, open the hidden drawer behind our wardrobe. Kevin stared at the note for nearly an hour. His heart pounded heavily inside his chest because suddenly all the strange memories began connecting together. That same night, he secretly went into Isaac's office searching for answers. Rain poured outside while Isaac slept upstairs. Kevin carefully opened drawers one after another. Bills, old documents, property papers. Then suddenly, he found a photograph. Kevin froze. The picture showed his father arguing with Isaac beside a black car. But that wasn't what terrified him most. On the back of the photograph were 4 handwritten words. He knows the truth. Kevin's breathing became faster, and beneath the photograph was a second knife. Kevin stumbled backward in horror. At that exact moment, footsteps echoed from upstairs. Isaac was awake. Kevin quickly shoved the photo inside his sweater just before Isaac entered the room. The man's face immediately darkened. "What are you doing here?" Nothing. Isaac slowly approached him. Then his eyes narrowed. "You were searching through my things?" Kevin remained silent. For a few seconds, the room became deadly quiet. Then Isaac crouched beside him and grabbed his shoulder tightly. Too tightly. "If you ever touch my office again," Isaac whispered coldly, "something very bad will happen to your sister Vivian." Kevin's blood turned cold. Isaac smiled slowly. "But you're a smart boy, right?" Kevin nodded weakly. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept staring at the photograph hidden beneath his pillow. For the first time in 6 years, he became afraid of Uncle Isaac. The morning of the execution finally arrived. Dark clouds covered the sky. Inside the prison, Deborah sat quietly while guards prepared the room. A priest stood nearby, reading prayers softly. Deborah barely listened. Her thoughts remained focused on her children, especially Vivian. She wondered if her daughter still hated her. Suddenly, the prison door opened. Kevin walked inside wearing a blue sweater, holding tightly onto Vivian's hand. Deborah's eyes immediately filled with tears. Her children, her babies. For 6 years, she survived prison only because of them. Kevin ran forward first and hugged her tightly. Deborah broke down crying instantly. "I'm sorry," she whispered painfully. I'm so sorry I couldn't stay to watch you grow up. Kevin held on to her even tighter. Vivian stood quietly near the wall, unable to speak. Seeing her mother in chains shattered something deep inside her heart. Deborah slowly looked toward Vivian. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Deborah whispered softly, "I never stopped loving you." Vivian's lips trembled. Guilt crashed into her chest like a storm. Because for the first time in years, she wanted to believe her mother. Suddenly, Kevin leaned close to Deborah's ear and whispered the sentence that changed everything. "Mom, I know who hid the knife under your bed." Deborah froze completely. Her tears stopped. The prison guards looked at each other. Even the warden turned around slowly. Deborah pulled back in shock. "What did you say?" Kevin's small voice trembled. "It wasn't you." The room fell silent. Then Kevin slowly raised his finger and pointed directly at Isaac, standing near the prison door. It was him. Isaac's face instantly lost color, and Vivian realized their nightmare was only beginning. Isaac's hands slowly tightened into fists. The prison room became completely silent. Kevin stood trembling beside Deborah, but he refused to lower his finger. "It was him," the boy repeated weakly. "I saw him." Vivian immediately turned towards Isaac in disbelief. "What is he talking about?" Isaac forced out a nervous laugh. "He's a child," he said quickly. "He doesn't know what he's saying." But Kevin suddenly pulled the folded photograph from inside his sweater. "I found this in his office." The prison warden quickly collected the photograph. The moment Isaac saw it, panic flashed across his face. Vivian noticed immediately, and so did Deborah. The warden studied the picture carefully. Michael and Isaac stood face to face beside a black car, both appearing angry. Then the warden flipped the image over. He knows the truth. The room grew colder. Isaac stepped forward instantly. "That picture means nothing." But Kevin's voice interrupted him again. "There was another knife too." Deborah's breathing stopped. Vivian slowly backed away from Isaac. "What knife?" Kevin swallowed hard. "In Uncle Isaac's drawer." Isaac suddenly exploded. "Enough!" The prison guards immediately moved closer. For the first time, Isaac's calm and caring image completely disappeared. His face twisted with rage. "You think some stupid child can destroy my life?" Vivian stared at him in shock. Destroy his life? Not defend himself. Not deny it. Destroy his life. Something was terribly wrong. The prison warden ordered everyone to remain inside the room, while officers searched Isaac's car immediately. Isaac began sweating heavily. He kept glancing toward the exit. Deborah noticed it, and deep inside her heart, fear slowly turned into hope. Maybe the truth was finally coming out. Minutes later, one of the officers returned, holding a small, locked metal box. "We found this hidden in his trunk." Isaac's face turned completely pale. "What's inside?" the warden asked. The officer shook his head. "It's locked." Suddenly, Kevin stepped forward slowly. With shaking hands, he removed the tiny silver key from his pocket. The same key his father left behind. "This might open it." The room watched in silence as the key slid into the lock. Click! The box slowly opened. Inside were old documents, bank papers, and several photographs. One picture showed Michael arguing with Isaac inside a warehouse. Another showed bruises on Deborah's arms, taking days before Michael died. Vivian's eyes widened. "Mom." Deborah immediately began crying because she remembered those bruises. Michael had asked about them before he died, but Deborah lied and claimed she fell down the stairs. The truth? Isaac caused them. Years ago, Isaac secretly borrowed huge amounts of money from dangerous people. When Michael discovered it, he threatened to expose him to the police. That was when everything changed. The room became deadly silent as the warden opened the final document inside the box. It was a life insurance agreement. Michael's signature appeared at the bottom, and beside the payout section, Isaac's name was listed. Vivian's legs nearly collapsed. "He planned this," she whispered. Deborah shut her eyes painfully. All these years, the real monster had lived inside their home. Suddenly, Isaac pushed one of the guards violently and ran toward the exit. "Stop him!" Chaos exploded inside the prison. Officers chased after Isaac through the rain-soaked parking lot while Vivian held Kevin tightly against her chest. Deborah remained frozen in her chair, tears streaming endlessly down her face. For 6 years, she suffered alone. For 6 years, nobody believed her. And now, the truth was finally escaping into the light. Outside, thunder crashed across the dark sky as Isaac reached his car. But before he could enter, a loud voice stopped him. "Isaac!" He turned around slowly. It was Vivian. Rain soaked her clothes as she stared at him with pure heartbreak. "You destroyed our family." Isaac's expression suddenly changed. Not anger, not guilt, fear. Because he realized something terrifying. The evidence inside the metal box was enough to reopen the entire murder case. And if Deborah was proven innocent, he would lose everything. Isaac slowly stepped backward. Then suddenly, he pulled out a gun from inside the car. Vivian gasped. The prison guards immediately raised their weapons. "Drop it now!" But Isaac pointed the gun directly at Vivian instead. Kevin screamed. Deborah watched helplessly from inside the prison doorway, and Isaac's voice shook with desperation. "You should have left the past buried." Rain poured heavily across the parking lot. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then Kevin suddenly shouted something that changed everything again. Dad recorded everything because somewhere out there, Michael may have left behind final proof before his death. And Isaac knew exactly where it was hidden. The rain refused to stop. Police lights flashed wildly across the prison parking lot while Isaac stood frozen, gripping the gun with trembling hands. Dad recorded everything. Kevin's words echoed through the storm like thunder. Isaac's breathing suddenly became uneven. Vivian noticed it immediately. The fear in his eyes. Not the fear of being arrested. The fear of being exposed. "Where is the video?" Isaac shouted desperately. Kevin stepped backwards slowly beside Vivian. "I won't tell you." Isaac pointed the gun toward them again. "Where is it?" The prison guards prepared to fire. But before anyone could move, Deborah screamed from the prison entrance. "Kevin, run!" Everything exploded into chaos. Kevin grabbed Vivian's hand and both of them ran across the parking lot while officers chased after Isaac. Thunder shook the sky. Rain blinded everyone. Isaac jumped into his car and sped away violently through the prison gates. Police vehicles immediately followed behind him. Within seconds, the sound of sirens disappeared into the stormy night. Hours later, Deborah sat quietly inside a small investigation room while detectives reopened the murder case. For the first time in 6 years, the chains had been removed from her wrists. But the pain inside her heart remained heavy. Vivian sat across from her silently. Neither mother nor daughter knew how to face each other anymore. So many lost years, so much hatred, so much pain. Finally, Vivian spoke softly. "Why didn't you tell me Isaac was hurting you?" Deborah lowered her eyes. "Because your father begged me not to destroy the family." Vivian's chest tightened painfully. Deborah continued slowly. Michael believed Isaac would eventually change. He kept helping him, even after discovering the deaths. But Isaac became worse, Deborah whispered. And when your father threatened to expose him, Isaac panicked. Tears rolled down Vivian's cheeks. All these years, she blamed the wrong person. All these years, her mother suffered alone. Suddenly, Kevin entered the room, holding an old backpack tightly. "I found it." Everyone looked toward him immediately. Kevin slowly opened the bag. Inside was an old video camera wrapped carefully inside clothes. Deborah covered her mouth instantly. Michael's camera. Kevin nodded weakly. Dad hid it inside the ceiling before he died. The detective quickly connected the camera to a television screen. Static filled the room. Then suddenly, Michael appeared on the screen. Vivian burst into tears immediately. It was the first time seeing her father's face in years. The video looked shaky and dark. Michael's voice sounded frightened. "If anyone is watching this," he whispered, "then something happened to me." Deborah began shaking uncontrollably. Michael continued. Isaac borrowed money from dangerous men. I tried helping him, but he kept lying. Tonight, I discovered he plans to frame Deborah if I go to the police. Vivian's heart nearly stopped. The room remained completely silent. Then Michael turned the camera slightly, and standing behind him was Isaac, holding the same knife used in the murder. The detective immediately paused the video. Nobody breathed. Nobody moved. The evidence was undeniable. Deborah collapsed crying. 6 years. 6 painful years stolen from her life. And now the truth finally stood exposed on a television screen. But suddenly, the video continued playing by itself. Michael looked directly into the camera one final time, and his next words changed everything again. If anything happens to me, Isaac didn't act alone. The room froze. Vivian slowly wiped her tears. What does that mean? Then, another voice appeared faintly in the background of the recording. A woman's voice. Deborah's face instantly lost color. No, she whispered weakly. Vivian's eyes widened in horror because she recognized the voice immediately. It belonged to Aunt Rebecca, Deborah's own sister. Kevin looked completely confused. No, Aunt Rebecca loved Dad. But Deborah began trembling violently. Years earlier, Rebecca and Michael secretly argued constantly over family property after Deborah's parents died. Nobody ever knew the real reason. Until now. Vivian stepped backwards slowly in disbelief. First Isaac, now Rebecca. The people they trusted most were hiding something terrible. Meanwhile, across town, Isaac sat inside an abandoned warehouse, breathing heavily. Blood dripped from a wound on his forehead caused during the police chase. His hands trembled as he replayed Kevin's words repeatedly inside his mind. There's a video. Isaac suddenly grabbed his phone and dialed a number. The call connected instantly. A woman answered. Isaac? His voice shook with panic. They found the camera. Silence. Then the woman whispered one terrifying sentence. Then we have to finish this tonight. Isaac slowly lowered the phone. After the truth about Rebecca was revealed, Vivian couldn't believe it. Her own aunt, the same woman who comforted them during funerals, the same woman who cried beside them for years. Could she truly be involved in Michael's death? Deborah sat frozen in her chair, shaking non-stop. No, she whispered repeatedly. Rebecca would never. But deep inside her heart, she remembered something terrifying. The night before Michael died, Rebecca visited their house unexpectedly. And after that visit, Michael became strangely nervous. Outside the prison building, detectives quickly increased security after learning Isaac escaped. Officers guarded every entrance. Nobody knew where Isaac was hiding. But one thing became clear. If Rebecca was truly involved, then both of them were dangerous. Inside the investigation room, detectives replayed the video recording again carefully. "Finish it quickly, Isaac." Rebecca's voice echoed through the speakers. Vivian buried her face in her hands. Kevin moved closer to Deborah quietly. "Mom, are we safe now?" Deborah looked at him sadly. "I don't know." At that exact moment, the prison lights suddenly went out. Darkness swallowed the building instantly. Women screamed from distant prison cells. Emergency alarms began ringing loudly. The detectives immediately grabbed flashlights. What happened? Then, a loud gunshot exploded somewhere downstairs. Kevin screamed. Vivian grabbed him tightly while officers rushed into the hallway. The backup generator flickered weakly. Red emergency lights slowly illuminated the corridors. And standing at the end of the hallway was Isaac, holding a gun. Rainwater dripped from his clothes while blood stained one side of his face. He looked completely broken, completely desperate. "You should have left this alone," he whispered. The detectives raised their weapons immediately. "Drop the gun!" But Isaac ignored them. His eyes remained locked on Deborah. For several seconds, nobody moved. Then suddenly, another voice echoed behind him. "Isaac!" Everyone turned. Rebecca stepped out from the darkness slowly. Vivian's heart nearly stopped. Her aunt looked terrified. Not evil, terrified. Rebecca's eyes filled with tears as she looked toward Deborah. "I never wanted this to happen." Deborah stared at her sister in disbelief. "Rebecca, why?" The woman began crying instantly. "Because Michael found out everything." The room fell silent. Rebecca wiped her tears shakily. Years earlier, after Deborah's parents died, Rebecca secretly sold part of the family land illegally. Isaac helped her hide it. But Michael eventually discovered the fraud and threatened to report both of them to the police. If Michael talked, Rebecca whispered painfully, "we would lose everything." Vivian felt sick. All this time, greed destroyed their family. Isaac lowered his gun slightly. "We only wanted to scare him," Rebecca cried. "But things went wrong." Deborah's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" Isaac finally spoke again. That night, Michael fought back. Because Michael found out everything. The room fell silent. Rebecca wiped her tears shakily. Years earlier, after Deborah's parents died, Rebecca secretly sold part of the family land illegally. Isaac helped her hide it. But Michael eventually discovered the fraud and threatened to report both of them to the police. Isaac finally spoke again. That night, Michael fought back. Rain thundered outside while Isaac's voice shook. Grab the knife first. We struggled. Isaac lowered his head slowly, and then he fell. Deborah shut her eyes in pain. 6 years. 6 years stolen because of their lies. Suddenly, sirens exploded outside the prison again. More police officers stormed into the building. Isaac looked around desperately. His escape was over. Everything was over. Rebecca slowly raised her trembling hands first. "I'm tired," she whispered. Then Isaac looked toward Deborah one final time. For the first time in years, real guilt appeared inside his eyes. "I'm sorry." Officers immediately rushed forward and handcuffed both Isaac and Rebecca. Vivian watched silently as they were taken away forever. The nightmare that destroyed their family had finally ended. 3 months later, warm sunlight covered the small family house once again. For the first time in years, laughter returned to the home. Deborah stood quietly in the kitchen preparing breakfast, while Kevin ran around the living room happily. Vivian entered slowly and watched her mother silently. Everything still felt unreal sometimes. Years of pain could not disappear overnight, but healing had finally begun. Deborah turned around softly. "You okay?" Vivian nodded slowly. Then after a few seconds, she walked forward and hugged her mother tightly. Deborah immediately broke into tears. So did Vivian. Because after years of darkness, their family finally found the truth. And this time, nobody could ever steal it away again. The end.